And we're back fighting the plutocrats. This is Plutocracy now, and today we're going to be talking about the environment with you guys. I love the environment. How about you?
I love Mother Earth. This is Tez Ricklin.
I live in the environment. This is Joey Hornbuckle.
I see both of them hugging a tree right now. This is Scott Brown.
That's right, hugging the tree in the studio.
That's right.
So, where are we going with this discussion?
Going downhill. Completely downhill.
Just like the environment.
That's right.
Exactly.
How appropriate.
We're going to hit up climate change. We're going to talk about Mother Earth as a big picture, how the planet's doing. We're going to talk about alternative energies.
All right, let me check something. None of you guys are climate change deniers, are you?
I am not a climate change denier. Call me crazy,
Okay.
accept what scientists say.
Holy shit. You mean what, 97% of climatologists, the people who get paid to study this shit all day, every day?
You know what? I think they probably have it right. Although, my friend did tell me that the Holy Spirit led him to conclude that climate change was a hoax.
Only in Georgia.
Well, yeah. I heard somewhere that dinosaurs had caused global warming back in their day because of their flatulence.
I mean, that's possible, but why is that relevant?
I was just saying,
It doesn't mean
that's
that carbon dioxide doesn't cause global warming.
In a way, they did. They died and turned into oil after millions of years, and then we pumped them back into the air.
There you go, man.
Riding the dinosaur.
I think per molecule, methane has a higher global warming potential than...
It does.
Yeah,
but
it does.
The difference is methane only stays in the air about 10 years, and carbon dioxide stays in between around 100 to 200 years.
I think the opposite of that is true. I think it's
not.
The carbon dioxide molecule is much easier to react.
This is the chemist now.
The carbon dioxide molecule is incorporated into plants for photosynthesis and built into carbohydrates, whereas it's a lot harder to react to carbon atom that's been attached to 4 hydrogens, in my opinion. But
thank you, Bill.
It stays in the atmosphere. Hey,
I'm just throwing that out there.
Wikipedia. I thought it was your shit.
Hey, man, I love Wikipedia. Scott Brown, do you want to start us off on climate change? Or what are we going to do?
Yeah, I guess so. I think we already started, but
I don't feel like we have. I feel like we just fucked around for 2 minutes.
Yeah, we rambled a bit.
Oh, fuck it. Well,
Fine. I'm starting this off.
yeah, where do you guys stand?
I'm talking about Mother Earth. I'm going to go off on a little rant here. I'm going to talk about the big picture. Let's talk about the history of the Earth.
Hit it, man. Let's hear it.
Out of all species that ever existed, 99.9% are now extinct. And throughout Earth's history, there have been 5 mass extinctions. 7 out of 10 biologists, according to PBS, think that currently we're in the 6th mass extinction thanks to human beings. So, let's break it down. In the history of the Earth, 443 million years ago was the first one, then 359 million years ago, 248 million years ago, we had the Great Dying, and 96% of species were gone. Around that time, asteroids, flood basalt eruptions, methane releases, lower oxygen levels, sea level flux. All of these are pointed to as potential factors of what happened and why so many species died.
Yeah, man, all that's true. My grandma was there to see it.
In the first climate change, the Ordoclavian Silurian mass extinction, it's thought that was the one 443 million years ago. That's the one where a huge southern ice sheet is thought to have caused this. So something happened with the southern ice sheet that affected a fall in sea level. 85% of sea life was gone. So there we have, let's think about this. We have alterations in ice sheets, and that's happening now. But let's go back. So to our 4th greatest mass extinction, the Triassic-Jurassic, 200 million years ago. And that was about an 18 million year process. So some of these mass extinctions didn't happen in a year or a day. It could have been millions of years. So it's kind of amazing to think about the history of the Earth in terms of millions of years. And now we're going to talk about climate change in certain decades. It's a tremendous difference.
And that's something to keep in mind, because people always want to, when people try to challenge climate change, they always want to say the Earth naturally changes.
Yeah.
And it naturally changes, but it doesn't naturally change that much in a couple hundred years.
Exactly. I think that's critical too. And we have the last one. The last one is kind of the end of the dinosaurs.
Well, wait,
that was
what
65 million years ago.
I just want to know.
Sure.
What happened with the 18 million year thing? What happened?
Yeah, so about 50% of species died around 200 million years ago in that 18 million year process. And you guys can check BBC. That's where I got this information. That's all I have down for that one. And then we'll move on to the last one, the KT
Pretty
transition.
sure my grandma caused that.
What's that? Your grandma didn't cause nothing, Joe.
Yeah, you'd be surprised.
Oh, what's your grandma do? Back pages? Moving on. 65 million years ago, thought to have flood basalt eruptions that were affecting climate. And then, of course, that asteroid by the Yucatan Peninsula, so the end of the dinosaurs. So that was the 5th mass extinction. And now biologists think 70% of them think, according to PBS, we're in our 6th mass extinction. And this is the way I think about the world. I think the world is amazingly complex. All of the different species that have adapted, all the different species. I mean, you have Darwin's finches, all the little finches that evolved and adapted to the Galapagos Islands. We have so much diversity, so many different species in the world, and here we are, billions and billions of human beings. We're pumping out tons of carbon dioxide, tons of fluorocarbon gases that never existed. Thank God for the Montreal Protocol, so we can have a little bit of ozone left. We still have ozone holes. We still have CFCs leaking out, old refrigerants. So there's all kinds of things we're doing to the earth that are affecting it on a big scale. And I want to shout out some of the extinct species, because humans are responsible for causing species to die. And I want to shout out passenger pigeons. The last one died in 1914.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, September 1st, 1914. Her name was Martha. Some zoo. So yeah, so we should do something on September 4th, 2014 to commemorate the 100th anniversary.
What killed off the passenger pigeon?
Hunting.
Yeah, humans, largely. So we used to have mountain lions in this region called the eastern cougar, but now we only have that species out west. So we killed them off on the eastern half. Now we have.
I would beg to differ. There are some people who continue to see sightings of this animal. Actually, somebody shot one in southern Georgia about 3 years ago.
You do have Florida panthers, and I mean, I guess it's possible to have, but I mean, they're not like in the North Georgia mountains or anything. But we had the Caribbean monk seal, Stellar sea cow, extinct. Eastern elk, extinct. Southern Rocky Mountains wolf, extinct.
Oh, the eastern elk.
Yep. Clendites lowi, a flightless California sea duck, extinct. That one was extinct before Christ. BCE, to be secular. And so maybe the Indians could have contributed to that one going extinct.
Were these all the results of human behavior?
We killed the dodo bird.
All of these.
Is the dodo bird on your list? Because that's my favorite extinction.
I focused on North American species that went gone. And we also have Tytopollens, which is a 1 meter tall flightless barn owl. And that was in some Caribbean island. I couldn't believe that. A 1 meter tall owl used to exist on Earth. And thank you, humans, for making that go extinct. All of them? I guess we ate all of them.
I heard that the Javan rhino is now extinct from... the
last one.
The Asian continent. It only survives in Indonesia now, I believe.
Yep.
Yeah, and
rest in peace.
Critically endangered species, or endangered: Sumatran orangutan, Bornean orangutan, Western lowland gorilla, cross river gorilla, bonobos. Bonobos are an awesome species. Some people call them love monkeys or sex monkeys. When one group of bonobos meets another group, they have an orgy. And they're not violent like chimpanzees.
You know, I just want to say, I think that's really sad. Bonobos are the second most closely related species on the earth to human beings. Right. Only chimps are more closely related. So the fact that, something so close to us ancestrally that should be such a fascination for us, that they're becoming extinct because of our actions, I think is... Yeah,
I think there's anywhere from 25,000 to 50,000 bonobos left. Hopefully we can... I think they're in the Congo, I'm not sure. I was listening to a podcast on the Congo lately. Rwanda funds some M23 rebels up in there. There's all kinds of crazy stuff going on in eastern Congo. That's a whole nother subject.
There's a lot of...
Killing mountain gorillas.
In the news lately, there's this big thing about Chinese buying all this African ivory. And it's spurring a lot of poaching in national parks all over Africa. And it's like, I think the African elephant population is down to like 30,000 throughout the whole continent. And one fact that I found kind of interesting, there are more tigers in the state of Florida than in the wild. Now, that's crazy.
That's disappointing. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Good job fucking it up, humans.
There are thousands and thousands of plants and mushrooms that are endangered, and those are critical for our health to develop pharmaceuticals. And why is all this happening? A lot of it is humans. A lot of it is habitat destruction.
Man, you forgot about the giant sloth.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
20 feet. 20
there's
feet
tons.
long.
There's so many species we could talk about.
Yeah.
So many. There's habitat destruction. Agriculture is a main cause of habitat destruction, just to feed all the humans on Earth. Mining, logging, trawling the sea, clearing land for neighborhoods.
Do you know that the 6 or 7 billion people that exist on this earth today only exist due to petroleum? If there was no oil and petroleum, there wouldn't be no way to bring food to all these people in remote places.
You wouldn't have enough fertilizer?
Right. So.
And then I think I've heard this, that half of the nitrogen in our bodies is from the Haber process. And that's when you take nitrogen and hydrogen, you put it at a very high pressure to create ammonia. Then the ammonia is used as fertilizer for the plants. We eat the plants. So half of the nitrogen in our bodies came from a lab, if I have that correct.
Does Monsanto have anything to do with that?
They might. You know what? Hey, if it wasn't for Monsanto, there might be millions of people dead.
All right, let me
got their hands in everything,
let me just say this here, Tez.
What you got, Scott?
Your little Wikipedia. I'm looking at it again. It's estimated atmospheric lifetime of CO2 is 30 to 95 years. Lifetime of methane is approximately 12 years.
You got me there. You got me there. I think there's still a lot more global warming potential per molecule, though, right?
Yes.
Very
true.
Yeah, methane is impacts global warming more. It's more of a greenhouse gas, but it doesn't last as long.
And it doesn't last, yeah.
We can't just pull it out of the air, so we basically got to wait 100 years to get that CO2 out of the air.
All right, from a chemistry perspective.
Something that is important to note, though, is that scientists, climatologists, something they do debate is the amount of effect that carbon dioxide has had on temperatures versus methane. Because we have a lot more methane in our air than we used to, in part because of pollution, but actually in large part because of more farm animals. In particular, we have so many more cows that put a lot of methane into the air that it's thought that may be causing as much of half of the global warming that we have.
Don't eat beef. Don't eat meat. Go vegetarian.
51%. It's 51% of global warming is caused by methane.
Okay, right, and I should. That's not
just methane from animals.
Yeah, and that's not universally agreed on. Like, there is some controversy there of different studies showing different things. So there's a consensus on global warming and that CO2 is making the Earth warmer, but there's not a consensus on whether methane or carbon dioxide has a bigger impact on it. We just know that both of them are having an impact.
Okay, let's talk about the increasing climate since the Industrial Revolution until now. If you look at these figures, they show that every year since the 1800s, that the temperature has gone up slightly every year. It might have slight 10-year periods where it's reduced, but then it gets even higher after that 10-year period. So it seems as if...
You know what blows my mind?
What's that?
That people even deny climate change at all. I mean, I don't know about you guys, or global warming, as it used to be called. I don't know about you guys, but I remember I learned about this in, like, 2nd grade. We've known about the greenhouse effect for 150 years.
Right.
You can do the experiment in your backyard. You can get two clear, closed little terrarium-type things, pump CO2 into one, don't pump into the other, have the sunlight hitting them both right next to each other, and you can put a temperature gauge in them and watch it. I've seen it done. Like, I don't get it. It was a couple years ago where all of a sudden I was shocked that grown-ass adults didn't believe in climate change. Man-made climate change.
It comes from money and politics.
It does. You guys know any? You guys got anything to say about that? Who do you think's behind it?
Well, I forget the lady's name. I think she writes for the New Yorker. She had a 2006 book that delved into this issue about how the oil and gas industry is funding a lot of skepticism. I mean, you had the tobacco industry back in the day. No, cigarettes don't cause lung cancer. They don't cause lung cancer. So what happens is when you have the plutocracy and their established interests threatened, what they're going to do is they're going to try to reach out to the public. And they're going to try to make you think that the developing science or the accepted science is actually controversial.
And what's funny is...
There's a conspiracy.
Yeah, it's like Agenda 21 conspiracy. It's the United Nations trying to establish a new world order and take American land. It's all about taking your freedom and your jobs and ruining our economic prosperity. But you know what's interesting is you can look at a lot of the organizations and a lot of the individuals who are involved who are real prominent in the climate change denial circles, like Robert Bryce, or there's a couple lot of the prominent people. A lot of them were also involved with tobacco companies, denying it was caused cancer first, and then denying secondhand smoke was dangerous. And you've got like the Manhattan Institute, who worked with some papers came out showing they worked with Philip Morris on the tobacco stuff, and now you've got Robert Bryce, who's the Wall Street Journal. They like to publish a lot of this stuff. Like, what was that new one just a week ago? Of course, the thing is, this is what I've noticed. Every time I see some climate change denial theory, I'll look into it, and consistently, every single time, I'll just look up any criticism of it, and it'll just blow it away. Like, they either blatantly lie, or they don't understand, or
I think
a little bit of both.
We're talking about a human psychological function now. We're outside of the realm of facts, and I'm going to give a plug to Freakonomics, because Freakonomics had a podcast that addressed this very specific issue. And if you want to learn more, I recommend you listen to it. I'll quote. The title is "The Truth Is Out There, ... isn't it? A new Freakonomics radio podcast." And here's one of the central findings. Greater scientific literacy and numeracy were associated with greater cultural polarization. Respondents predisposed by their values to dismiss climate change evidence became more dismissive, and those predisposed by their values to credit such evidence more concerned as science literacy and numeracy increased. So, what you have is, you have kind of people psychologically predisposed to either accept climate change or to reject it. And as they learn more data, you have the confirmation bias.
It's like that with anything in politics, though.
It is.
It's like that with anything, really. I mean, religion, politics, economics, any of it.
Yeah.
That's human psychology. We are
and
flawed beings.
Yeah, and some research I saw on this recently is like, so how do you get someone who is convinced climate change is a hoax to change their mind and say, oh, actually, I accept the evidence? And I think the only way you can do that is you have to take someone who used to be a climate change skeptic. You have to take the most prominent person, or you have to take people very closely associated with the skeptic movement who have converted and now accept climate change. And you have to point to those types of individuals. Because if you just show them facts that support the fact that climate change is real, they're just going to reject it.
Yeah, they're going to criticize your facts. In North Carolina, I believe it was, they actually passed legislation banning the words sea level rise from any proposed legislation. And it's crazy. It was a guy, he was in North or South Carolina. He's like conservative on every issue, but he accepted the scientific view of climate change, and they ran him out of Congress.
And that's why my favorite Republican was John Huntsman. And I quoted him earlier. He's the one that tweeted something like, I accept what scientists say about climate change. Call me crazy. The base of the Republican Party did not like John Huntsman because he actually accepted science.
Yeah, and a lot of this started just a couple years ago. I mean, with the whole Tea Party movement. And there was... that's when all these organizations popped up, especially the Koch brothers. If you follow the money, Koch Industries is behind pretty much every climate change denial out there.
Where do they have the game?
It's there.
They're in the oil and gas industry.
Yeah.
That was kind of how they got started.
Wow. You
Especially with turning certain parts of petroleum into plastic, right?
think? Right.
Yeah, so they're all over that, and they're just doing what serves their best interests and following the law and being
But doesn't
corrupt.
clean air and water serve everyone's best interest?
Not if you're old.
Not if you're making that much money.
Yeah, not if you're old making a lot of money off these industries.
Well,
I hate to say it, but that's the logic that they're using.
And even if they don't explicitly use it, it seems like that's at least part of the tacit mental processes going on there.
that's gonna fall.
And put that microphone more between you guys. Yeah. All right, I'm just gonna run off some of these organizations to look out for that throw out a lot of misinformation, and they all sound real good. They have real pleasant sounding names.
Yeah, these are some
You
good
never-
groups. What you got?
You got first up, Manhattan Institute, like I already talked about. I got the mission statement from their website. The mission. It sounds pretty nice.
Yeah, it sounds very progressive.
The mission,
modern.
exactly. The mission of the Manhattan Institute is to develop and disseminate new ideas that foster greater economic choice and individual responsibility. Who can disagree with that?
I love
That-
freedom.
Yeah,
I
man,
love-
that sounds great.
And responsibility? Come on.
Who could be against freedom and responsibility? Come on.
Exactly.
You must be a socialist.
All right, well, some other groups we got here. The Heartland Institute. It's a very innocuous sounding name.
The Heartland.
I love the Heartland.
Competitive Enterprise Institute.
I love competitive enterprise.
Cato Institute.
I love Cato.
Americans for Prosperity.
I
Who
love
doesn't
Americans
like
for
I like
prosperity.
prosperity. I love
You know?
America.
And
I'm an
the-
American
and
for
the-
prosperity, for Christ's sake.
We got the American Tradition Institute. A lot of them are libertarian organizations. Always, their mission statements will talk about the free market solutions, and they always want free market solutions to
I mean, they
environmental
sound like
problems
such
because
nice
the
people.
free market has always put forward great solutions to the environmental problems.
These sound like people I'd like to have a beer with.
Exactly.
Order up a Blue Moon, a Sam Adams.
I mean, the
They sound
Heartland
like good people.
Institute. That's just down to earth, good old American.
That's right. Some of them could be my neighbors, man.
And so, yeah, I mean, you got like the Manhattan Institute. They've gotten $1.3 million from organizations that were associated with Koch Industries. I mean, you could follow the money, but it's real interesting how recent this is. I mean, as soon as the whole craze started, I was really shocked. But you can go to Open Secrets and look at the energy and natural resources industries and see how much they donated, and you see that it was pretty flat, a little over around $150 million. And it started to go up around 2005, but from then to 98 it was less than 200 million. And around 2005 it was a little over 200 million. All of a sudden 2008 comes along, almost $400 million. 2009, 2010, over $400 million every year, and it went down a little bit in 2012.
You ever notice that you don't hear politicians on either side of the aisle talking about the climate change issue anymore?
Yeah, that didn't come up at all during the debates over the president, did it?
Nah, not at all.
That should have been one of the top issues.
Considering that, I mean, damn, it's January and it's 70 degrees outside.
Yeah, and
Damn.
I mean, they
real.
weren't even asked that question. It
Can
wasn't
you-
just the campaigns and
I
media
mean, so it
didn't
gotta
ask
get to a
about
point where
it.
you just got to get to plain common sense. So go outside. It's January.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be 60 degrees this weekend in Ohio. I grew up in Ohio 21 years. It was the coldest time of the year. It's going to be 60 degrees this weekend. I'd be fine living. I wouldn't even move to Georgia if it was that nice when I lived there. And that wasn't even that long ago.
Hottest year on record.
Hottest
for North
year on
America.
record. And you guys heard about Australia, right? Of course, they having some record heat.
New colors on the map.
Yeah, they got new colors on the map.
Yeah, I
They
saw
haven't
that.
Yeah, I
used
saw
them.
that.
They haven't used them, but there is a town where you can't even pump gas because it's so hot that the gas evaporates.
Wow.
So, fucking wild. Sorry, FCC. And Tez.
We're the gamers deciding to fly against the sky. Within our dreams we all wake up to kiss the ones who are born to die. We're the grey herds, hurting each other with our lives. Within our dreams we all wake up to kiss the ones who themselves in Harakiri. The blackbirds, they fell in thousands from the sky. Their red wings streaming down from the higher seas, deflected by the ground. They crown the sun, they crown the sun, they crown the sun. But I believe that they are free when their time was done. They were drowned by the only one, but I believe that they are free, washed by the sun.
These are the stakes. We must either love each other or we must die.
Our statues, the soaring edifice of our times, detracted from the ways of the wise. The future will view all history as a crime. So, Father, tell us when is the time to rise. They crown the sun, they crown the sun, but I believe that they are free when their time was done. They were drowned by the only one, but I believe that they are free.
We're at war with the most dangerous enemy that has ever faced mankind in his long climb from the swamp to the stars. There's no place to escape to. This is the last stand on Earth.
Where the day burns, deciding to fly against the sky. Within our dreams we all wake up to kiss the ones who are born to die. Where the graying hurts, hurting each other with our lives. Within our dreams we all wake up to kiss the ones who are born to die. They crown the sun, they crown the sun, but I believe that they are free when their time was done. They were drowned by the only one, but I believe that they are free. They crown the sun, they crown the sun, they crown the sun, but I believe that they are free, and we believe that they are free, 'cause I believe that they are me, washed by the sun.
Yeah, Tez does not condone this profanity. Tez is a really nice guy. And Tez is going to bring it back to Georgia because Tez loves Mother Earth. Tez loves the outdoors.
Tez loves Tez.
Tez loves Tez. Let's talk about invasive plants. I mentioned those earlier. In our environment, in our backyards in Georgia, there's Chinese privet, there's Japanese honeysuckle, there's English ivy, and there's kudzu. There's tons of these invasive species that are taking over our woods. Are you educated? Do you know? Can you go out in your backyard and look and say, this plant belongs here or this plant doesn't? In my world, I want people to know what the woods should look like.
You think we got it bad here in Georgia? You should go to Florida. They got pythons.
There's some Burmese pythons in the Everglades or whatever. Yeah, that's a really
Tegu
disruptive.
lizards. Gambia river rats. It's crazy. It feels like, and then we're becoming more tropical as a state due to the climate. So those same invasive species might be making their way up here.
Remember last year it got real cold in Florida. It was real weird. A lot of iguanas falling from trees frozen, and a lot of those snakes probably died. A lot of the reptiles.
I'm pretty sure a lot of them didn't.
There's always.
Oh yeah, there's definitely a lot
survivors.
left. There's definitely
Nature,
a lot
what
left.
they say in Jurassic Park,
Snakes aren't
nature always finds a way.
Oh yeah, it does. It's true. So I'm saying, even if we mess up the environment, and life isn't totally screwed. Just all the life we're familiar with might be.
Yeah.
It's the worst case scenario. Is everything we know will be dead, but I'm sure some microbes will find it very comfortable.
So if you guys want to know which plants are exotics and which ones actually belong in your backyard, there's the Georgia Exotic Pest Plant Council. I'll say it again. Georgia Exotic Pest Plant Council. They maintain lists. They have a website up, different pictures. You can see what actually belongs in your backyard or actually what doesn't. They pretty much have all the bad guys listed on their website. And what local organizations are tackling this problem? One of them I'd like to shout out is Trees Atlanta. They have a forest restoration program. And today I went and signed up as a volunteer on their website, because what they'll do is go to a local park and they will pull up Chinese privet. They will pull up the exotic plants that don't belong there, so our environment has a chance to grow in our local Atlanta community. So I'd like for you guys, our listeners, our co-hosts, to sign up with Trees Atlanta and get your hands dirty in Atlanta. Let's do something. And I want to tie it back to the Occupy movement. We talked about the Occupy movement a lot, our first show. And this is my main problem with Occupy, is that, not to take a shot at you, Scott, but to take a shot at you, Scott.
Bring it. Fucking bring it.
Occupy doesn't know how to complete the circle.
I'm not scared of anybody named Tez.
They don't know how to complete the circle. They're willing to go spend a bunch of gas and blow a bunch of carbon out into the air to protest some pipeline, but they won't even go to a local park to dirty their hands to pull up some Chinese privet.
Well, all right. Well, here, let me be one to defend the movement, even though Occupy isn't officially part of the February 17th protest, which I'm just going to give a shout out, let everybody know. February 17th, the White House, be there. 350.org, Sierra Club, Occupy Atlanta, of course. We're going to be there. Sierra Clubs, we're working with them to try to get a bus to go. So if you're in the Atlanta area, keep your ear to the ground. Maybe you can get a seat on that bus, even though I'm sure the seats will go quick. But, see, here's the thing. You can go pull up some plants in Georgia if you want, and that's fine. But what's that going to do to stop climate change? What's that going to do to stop...
It's not going to contribute to it.
Yeah, but what would stop it? If we get enough people there and make enough noise and make the president realize that there's... and get a little media attention, put some pressure on our elected representatives so they have the political capital so Obama can block the damn pipeline. I mean, it's the 21st century, and we're still using...
Let's say the pipeline gets blocked. Let's talk a little bit about this policy. I don't know much about this Keystone pipeline and that policy. What good will come of actually blocking the pipeline?
Well, for one, it's going to make it... All right, well, here's one thing. It's basically a huge... What do they call it?
Scott's going to look up the information.
No, Bill McCribbin, the guy who started 350.org, he calls it basically the biggest carbon bomb on the planet, and he's pretty much right. The biggest single place with the most carbon locked under the ground, and also the dirtiest at the same time. It's the some oil sands up in Canada.
Like so they're trying to build oil sands.
So you're saying there's a lot of natural energy in the continental United States, or at least on the North American continent, that we should be they're trying to get at? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. It's real dirty. It's basically mixed in with a bunch of dirt, and so they got to expend a lot of energy just to separate it, and then they're basically going to build a pipeline all across the United States to get it everywhere. And so basically, if they build that pipeline,
which is called the Keystone XL pipeline,
Keystone
right?
XL pipeline,
Keystone
yeah,
XL.
being built by TransCanada, and but basically, if this pipeline gets built, they're going to spend a lot of money on it. They're not going to, if in 5-10 years even, we get our shit together as a people, when it comes to anthropogenic global warming, I mean, they'll already have a lot invested in this pipeline. They're not going to want to just shut off production and be like, well, we don't need this pipeline anymore. We're going to invest in solar power and wind power. It just makes it all the more unlikely, and it also...
Yeah, but I will say this, that, over time, we're going to have to transition into other forms of energy because, one, they're called non-renewable resources because they're not going to be here forever.
Yeah, but the industries who obviously have our government captured, these industries, I mean, our last president was an oil man. His vice president was former CEO of Halliburton. Like, these are...
Condoleezza Rice had an oil tanker named after her, right?
Exactly.
Did she? I didn't know that.
These are the people running this country. And so if you think these people aren't going to milk the whole planet dry of oil before they give a shit about going to solar, like, you're crazy. All they care about is their bottom line. They don't care about the planet their grandchildren are going to inherit.
No, I give you that. That is true for some, but it's people like T. Boone Pickens, a major oil executive. He is investing into alternative forms of energy because he knows the truth and the reality of the situation. He knows that we're not going to be able to use finite energy for the rest of eternity.
What do you guys know about natural gas? You guys seen Gasland?
I know fracking is an issue. I know there's a lot of natural gas in North America. I know gas prices have gone down.
I could spend the rest of the show reading these strange chemicals that probably nobody but Tez has ever heard of, that are some of the over 700 chemicals that are in fracking fluid. That was disclosed to Congress. If you want me to start listening, we got glycol ethers, you got all kinds of strange stuff.
Do some scary stuff. That dihydrogen monoxide, that's the worst one.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
It's probably in there. But so...
For anyone who didn't get that, dihydrogen monoxide, watch that video on YouTube. It's hilarious. Dihydrogen monoxide is a stupid way of saying water, and it's a great YouTube video of like getting people to sign up against dihydrogen monoxide.
Oh man,
definitely in there. All right, no, seriously, what do you guys think about natural gas?
I think it's a cleaner source of energy than the petroleum and coal.
I mean,
energy.
it's a fact that it's got a lower carbon footprint.
I have thought that it's pretty interesting that the United States year over year now for a few years has been producing significantly less carbon dioxide into the air, which is a really good, really good success. But what I think bothers a lot of environmentalists in this is that the decreases have mostly come from the fact that we're switching over from coal and other sources of energy like that over to natural gas, and that way we're able to pollute less. So if the question is between coal and natural gas, which is cheaper and cleaner, then I say go with natural gas. That seems like a better option than the other alternatives that we have.
I am mixed on this issue because I know that if tomorrow we're not going to be able to just switch everything over to electrical cars and wind energy. I mean, it has to be a transition, and we still in a global economy, and we are due to overtake the Saudis in the world's largest oil producer. I think we are number 2 now. We overtook Russia, and President Obama, he was not ashamed of touting that during the election.
Let me quote our great president here. You have my word that we will keep on drilling everywhere we can. That's a commitment that I make. Barack Obama, March 2012.
And he needs to say that as president. And I'm going to be the devil's advocate here. The president wants the economy to perform so that people have jobs.
This is the lie. This is the bullshit.
The cheaper the energy, the better the economy does.
What's cheaper than the sun?
I agree with you on that. Thermal is geothermal energy. That's something that
But that takes a lot of investment.
That's a lot more expensive than coal or natural gas.
Yeah, it's going to take. Yeah, well. I mean, it depends on how you look at it. Because look at oil.
If you look at it based on price per kilowatt hour, it's way more expensive.
Yeah, but look at oil companies. Look at how much taxes they pay. $3 billion in refunds.
Even if you even that out, it's still a lot cheaper.
Getting all these tax benefits.
We need to tax the shit out of them. We need to tax gas.
Yes,
we need to give subsidies for massive subsidies.
Yeah, we need a carbon tax.
We can't
carbon tax.
But here's the thing. I love solar power, but I just hope you realize that by doing that, we're going to be spending a lot more money on subsidizing solar power than the amount that's given to oil. I mean, that means we're going to spend a lot of money on solar that we can't spend in other areas.
It's going to be a lot of jobs, though. totally revamp our.
That you're also going to be getting rid of a lot of jobs, though. If you replace solar, if you replace coal with
Creative
solar, then that means you're getting
destruction.
rid of
Economic
jobs in one
progress.
industry and creating them in another. But
Yeah,
it
but
just,
that's
it just
what
means
happens.
that the
Industries
typical
die,
family
technology-
is realistically going to have less purchasing power if you do that. A lot less purchasing power, and that may not sound all that bad at first. But when you think about the families who are trying to afford medicine, decent housing, decent food,
Hold up.
that can cause a certain amount of
That's what
struggle or
governments
even
are for.
suffering.
Governments are here to deal with collective things that people can't just individually deal with. This is one of the climate change is a problem that government exists for. This is why we need a huge mechanism like government. This is.
But what about?
But that means that we're going to have to raise taxes a lot on people. I'm just saying there's going to be a really big cost if that's the way that you want to do it.
Well,
Joey,
I mean, there's a lot of different ways you can go about it. I mean, you can subsidize people getting solar panels on their house. I mean, I saw that this one architect is building apartments and houses up in Canada that are actually you make money. Like, you feed power back into the grid, and it's built to be super energy efficient. Like, it absorbs the sunlight to heat your house, and it pretty much automatically heats and cools your house. It has solar panels, and so after not very long, you end up getting paid to have
And
energy.
That's how it should be. That's how it should be. I agree.
I agree.
And Joey, I have a question for you because you've done more research on this with the solar panels and the economics of this. I saw in the news recently that a bunch of Chinese companies or some Chinese companies were dumping all these solar panels onto the market for really cheap prices. And from my understanding, the technology has gotten to that point where we're getting closer and closer to reaching parity with the economics of, non-renewable
We're getting
fossil
closer to
fuels.
solar parity. We're getting closer to it.
So how
I'm
much
just saying that-
longer?
I'm
Like
just
if
saying
we
that we're
keep
not there yet.
progressing, yeah, sure. But like, is there any good estimate on a timeline? So in about 5 years or 10 years, if natural gas prices stay the same or if coal prices stay the same per kilowatt hour, when are we going to get to making solar power economically feasible?
Well, here, let me throw out some facts about Europe, who's actually on the ball way more than we are when it comes to energy. Scotland gets 35% of their energy from renewables. At least they did in 2011. It's probably more now. Germany gets 3% from solar, but it's expected to be 25% by 2050. We're nowhere near that track.
I was hanging out in California back in June, and tiny little solar panels in this person's backyard, and they're like, yeah, that's pretty much what we use to power our house. Now, in their garage, they had about 10 batteries that look like car batteries. So the batteries store the charge that the little solar panels collect. They live in a central California. It's a lot of
You mean they
sun.
have power when the sun's not out?
Yeah, they have a generator
Wow.
for backup when that happens. But a lot of the time, they're getting probably 90% of their house is powered off of the solar energy, which I think is fantastic. And I mean, with a little bit more, bit more panels, you could probably do that in Georgia.
And think about
why not?
The International Energy Agency estimates that every year we wait to deal with global warming will cost us another $500 billion to deal with it in the future.
Let me just say something now. A lot of these innovations that are seemingly futuristic were proposed by Nikola Tesla back in the early 1900s. And I don't know, when he died mysteriously, his papers and all his notes,
Illuminati.
just
Definitely.
I didn't say it.
New World
I
Order.
didn't say it. I don't know what that is. But but anyways, his papers went missing, and it is believed that a lot of the people in the oil company and the energy companies have his patents and his technology research and are just sitting on it to make maximum profits on the fossil fuel energy that's already existing.
I don't buy that.
It makes sense to me.
I love a good conspiracy theory. I believe it.
I mean, but it's not really a conspiracy theory. This man died and his papers were gone.
I don't buy that.
Where'd they go?
Obviously, malicious people took it. There's no other explanation.
He had already built in Pennsylvania something they call a Tesla Tower. And what a Tesla Tower does is it takes energy from lightning and stores it. And it's still around today. It's like 500 homes in Pennsylvania that get all their electricity from this one Tesla Tower.
I'm going to go ahead and contest that. The Tesla Tower was taken down a long time ago, and we do have a lot of skyscrapers. The Empire State Building is a popular example that do get a lot of their electricity from lightning strikes, but that requires that you build something akin to a skyscraper, and even then the skyscraper still gets most of its energy from electricity, from coal, natural gas, some fossil fuel.
It would have to be something of the same size comparative to a telephone tower, and there are tons of those all over the damn place. I'm just saying, it's an untapped source of energy, and it provides a competition for the main standard of energy in our society. And this is not just a thing that's limited to the United States. Yes, they're making strides overseas, but overall, if you look at the developing world, they don't want to sign clean energy agreements because the people are just getting to the point in China and India where they can afford to buy a car. So it's no incentive for them to even
see. This is going to be one of the big problems dealing with global warming. Is how do you make it equitable across the world? Because even if we just all get the same standards, tomorrow, all the less industrialized, less developed nations are going to say, hey, you guys in the West have been benefiting from this technology, from the dirty technology that's polluting the world, and in some cases, killing their people and putting their islands under the ocean.
Right.
We've been benefiting that for 100 years, and now we just want to act like it's fair if we give them the same. Like it's not an easy situation.
I just have to say this, and then we need to go on a break and do some music.
Paid for you by the Plutocracy.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. Here's why I don't buy the lightning strike thing that's going to power all of our homes and industries. Is if that was something that made sense, that like economically worked, then that's something that we would be doing. Even if it wasn't one of the most economical alternative energies.
You don't make a lot of money from it.
It would be an alternative energy that we would be talking about, that would be alongside wind and solar and all these other things. Like there are people who have thought through all this before, and apparently setting up more tall structures that will take lightning strikes is not a good way of coming up with a lot of electricity.
I'm not saying
I just don't think that's. I don't think that it's a good thing to bring up to say that this is how we're going to solve our electricity, our global warming problems, and pollution problems.
We need a collective energy solution. It's not just a small piece. I'm not saying that we should invest all our electricity infrastructure into this one thing, but it should be a component. As many things that we can use to divert away from finite energy, more renewable energy is the way to go in the long run.
If you want to talk about energy-related conspiracies too, remember, was it the late 90s, something like that?
You mean about the aliens?
Yeah, about the aliens. Remember, the electric cars had been out for a while before, and then...
Who killed the electric car?
Who killed the electric car? Because all of a sudden they vanished.
The aliens killed the electric car?
The companies took them all back. Yeah, the aliens came. It was the Illuminati and the aliens. It was all a plot.
The reptiles.
Oh, man.
All right, we're going to take a little break right now. Plutocracy Now.
Scott, play the music.
All right, here we go. It's TV on the radio, DNZ.
Congratulations on the mess you made of things. I'm trying to reconstruct the air and all that brings. And oxidation is the compromise you own. But this is beginning to feel like the dog wants a bone. Say, la la la.